My name is Tonya Higgins, and I'm president and founder of Lakewood College, and I would like to welcome our faculty here. I'd like to give you a little bit of background about why Lakewood College came to be and why your role is extremely important here. So in 1998, I started the American Center for Conflict Resolution Institute, and at that time we only provided face-to-face mediation training services. And it just really took off. People wanted to learn more about mediation all around the country. There was even a TV show called The Mediator that was very popular at that time. So many people were diving into other ways to resolve disputes other than your traditional legal system where it was very adversarial. From there, we added several other programs because of the request from our students. Many of the things you see here designed at Lakewood College, including our curriculum, which you're a great part of, is designed because student requests. We're very student-centered. So we went on from offering just mediation programs to paralegal. We then offered criminal justice, pharmacy tech. We have 7 vocational programs in total, including medical billing, medical coding. And we also have administrative medical assisting. So you're a huge part of our team now, and we're expanding. Our territory is being increased and enlarged, and we need all of you to make sure that those dreams come true for our students. So our whole focus is student success, and we can't do it, and we won't do it. We won't be able to do it without your services. So thank you so much for participating in this training. Please try to learn everything you can. Feel free to give any of us a call. We do have open door policy here at Lakewood College, and we really do mean open door policy. If you're ever in the area, please stop by. We'd love to answer any questions that you have. We'd rather for you to ask questions, and then we can assist you in getting it right, than not ask questions and kind of wander around and not really know what to do. But we know that because of your expertise in your areas, we've chosen you. We choose the best of the best of the best of the best, and we're glad to have you. Thank you so much, and thank you for educating our students.
Hi, my name is Nicole Estevez. I oversee student and career services. I have a background in psychology as well as sociology and a minor in criminal justice. I came to Lakewood College to work in my field, hopefully one day become an instructor, but for now I would love to give back and oversee students and their success throughout their higher ed process.
Hello, my name is Isaac Higgins, and I'm VP of Business Development here at Lakewood College. And one of my responsibilities here at Lakewood is to make sure that we help our students who are actively engaged to follow up on them to see how we can be of assistance to them. One of the things that I love to do is that I love to exercise, and I love to see other people be successful. So that's a little bit about me.
Hey everybody, my name is Jack Solomon, and I'm the Compliance and Partnership Liaison here at Lakewood College. I have a political science degree as well as a master's degree in international relations with a focus on human rights law. I came to Lakewood as a temp back in February of this year, essentially helping with administrative matters for both Anthony and Tonya, and they saw fit to keep me on board and promote me to this current position. So essentially what I am focused on here is essentially being the right hand of Anthony and Jim Getberth as they deal with internal compliance matters, be that with our regulators and our accrediting bodies, as well as community outreach and partnerships with other schools, i.e. articulation agreements and things like that. So thank you for watching, and we look forward to getting to know all of you.
Hello, my name is Miranda Slaughter. I am the appointment setter here at Lakewood College. I grew up in the military. My father retired from the Marines after 26 years of service, and I'm a single mother to 2 boys who I am pushing very strongly to go to college. You'll probably contact me first if you were interested in enrolling at Lakewood College, and I'm here for any kind of guidance or assistance you may need in that process.
Hello, I'm Tommy Sutton-Lovett, the Student Success Coach at Lakewood College. I have been back at Lakewood College since earlier this year, And before I had worked here for a few years, I was here in numerous roles before. So I'm happy to be back, and how I interact with you, I am the success coach, so I am kind of a liaison or mediator between the students and the faculty. I am here as a resource for the students. They are able to contact me pretty much every day, 7 days a week. I track their success and I dialogue with them regularly about their success. I am a certified coach, and I look for ways to incorporate my coaching experience and skills into what it is that we have to do concerning expectation management with the student body. So I look forward to getting to know you and working with you as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Jim Gepperth, the Academic Dean here at Lakewood College, and I'm also a faculty member, a fellow educator, teaching several introductory business courses. My primary role here at the college is to work with instructors to make sure that we are designing courses along the lines of best practices, that they are well designed and work effectively from the perspective of our students. I also help instructors with their teaching strategy and navigating the learning management system and basically helping them be the best educator they can be. Secondarily, I work with the leadership team here at the school to do things like budgeting, staying accredited, strategic planning. So I am very honored to work with all of you, our advisors, and all of the stakeholders with the school, and I look forward to our future work together.
Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Anthony Nathel. I am humbled to be the Vice President of Operations here at Lakewood College. Most of my role is to ensure that every single division that we have here at Lakewood College is operating effectively, efficiently, and most importantly is student-centered. As like our Dean and like our President, I am also a faculty member here and very happy to be part of the faculty team as well as part of the leadership team. I am always available to everyone, and I like to say that Lakewood College is a space for everyone. So we always encourage people to come and interact with us and use this space as it is their office as well. Thanks so much. Hello, and welcome to your faculty training. I wanted to give a brief overview of online learning, asynchronous learning environments, and our authorizing entities, just to give a little bit of a brief background into the framework in which we reside in as Lakewood College. So, online learning has many different terms: e-learning, blended learning, which is more in-person and online together; mobile learning, MOOC, which is a massive online open source content, which is typically free. Many prestigious institutions, including MIT and Harvard, participate in providing MOOC curriculum, but you have to pay if you want the credential. Coursera is a huge MOOC as well. Online education or virtual learning environment. They're all fun terms. And it can take many forms and be delivered through many different platforms. Lakewood College chooses to provide our online learning through Moodle. Moodle is a learning management system, and it does stand for something, but I don't remember what, but it is a company that began in Australia. It's after Blackboard, but before a lot of the other learning management systems, and in my opinion, it's quite intuitive and very, very valuable. Compared to some other learning management systems. However, there are pros and cons to every learning management system. Distance education has kind of transformed over the years. If you remember, some of you may remember that online education or distance education or blended learning, mobile learning, these were all terms that were considered to be taboo and included a negative connotation. If you have an online degree, then it's not as reputable, prestigious, or whatever. All of the Ivy Leagues now have online degrees, and that stigma is slowly going away by the wayside, just like the debate between national and regional accreditation. I have heard some people say that national accreditation is worse than regional accreditation because they produce diploma mills. I would like to point out that regionally accredited schools tend to close more often, get in more trouble, and often the scandals that you see in the news are all regionally accredited schools, mostly because the regional accreditors have fewer guidelines for schools. They're more broad. What that means is a national accreditor may be more prescriptive and give actual numbers, like student satisfaction rates must be 89% or higher. A regional accreditor might say a school must measure student satisfaction. A little less prescriptive and a little bit more ambiguity, which in many cases in higher education is good. But it also can be negative when you give somebody a little bit too much room, aka a school. So you may hear that because we are a nationally accredited school. I've devoted my PhD to the discussion of accreditation, and I consider myself a novice in it. So if you're interested in learning more about accreditation, I'm always open to it. The one last thing that I will say about accreditation, and we will talk about our accreditor in a moment, but the last thing I'll say about accreditation is that every single accrediting body must go through the same process to become an accreditor through the Department of Education. And every 5 years, that respective accrediting body has to prove to the Department of Education that they can still be an accreditor. So they all have the same exact process in which they become an accreditor. The only outlier is, of course, faith-based accreditors, but that's a different arena. All right, so that's just a brief chat about online learning. A fun fact by Jeff Selinga, who is an editor at the Chronicle of Higher Education, stated that in 2019, every single college freshman will interact with an online course in some capacity. Asynchronous learning, what is it? Asynchronous learning is a general term used to describe forms of education, instruction, and learning that do not occur in the same place or at the same time. All right, so this means that there is no meeting time. So in our way, this is the Lakewood College definition of asynchronous learning. There is no specific meeting time, and there is no specific place other than the online virtual classroom. So when somebody enrolls in week 1, another person may already be enrolled in week 4, and students are going through the course at different times through the same course. Of course, we have things in place. We have instruments in place to make that a little bit more streamlined for those people who are facilitating the education, like yourself. Now, I wanted to just briefly chat about the Ohio Department of Higher Education, which is currently led by Randy Gardner, the Chancellor, Vice Chancellor Dr. Davidson, and Associate Vice Chancellor Dr. Stephanie McCann. These folks are the executives of the state, and they are the ones who authorize all of the degree programs. In Ohio, we have 2 regulatory bodies, one that oversees vocational programs, those 6 or 9-month diploma programs, 4-month maybe, and the ones that oversee the degree programs. So the Ohio Department of Higher Education oversees the degree programs and has a reauthorization process in place that they are typically on the accreditation cycle. So every 5 years, they are reviewing our courses to make sure that every single course that we offer is up to snuff and that it has the rigor that they have set forth as a requirement. They do have an 86-page document with a ton of appendices that describes what a course should look like, what a school should look like, what the financials should look like, and so forth. We do make sure that we stay on top of that 86-page document as they make changes, which they have not made any changes since 2016. But we make sure that we are very in tune with that document and that we are always compliant with this regulator, as they are the first layer of regulation in Lakewood College. The second layer is the DEAC. They are our institutional accreditor, and they are the gatekeeper of quality. So they have an accreditation handbook and 12 standards. Again, ironically, they have not updated this since 2016 as well. But they have those 12 standards that are really, really in-depth, about a 90-some page document that tells Lakewood College and any other institution that is accredited or wants to be accredited by the Distance Education Accrediting Commission what is required of that school. They are a little bit different than the state in that they have more rigorous standards. So when the DEAC approves something, we anticipate that the state will approve it because the DEAC is a little bit more strict with their rules, requirements, procedures, policies, and so forth. We do stay very, very connected with the DEAC. We see them at least every 6 months in a very fun area. They chose, San Diego, Miami, Chicago, some really fun places that we get to go and for us interact with the DEAC. But we always stay in tune with them and learn from them, and they really are a great quality gatekeeper. Lakewood College does not yet have any programmatic accreditors. However, we've already applied to ASHP, which oversees pharmacy technician, ASHP. They will hopefully soon be a programmatic accreditor of us. And then we also have IACBE, which is a business degree accreditor who we are applying with in the near future. So that's just a brief overview of online learning, asynchronous learning, and some of the regulators that we interact with. As always, if you have any questions or you're interested in learning more about accreditation, authorization through the state, or online asynchronous learning, everyone here on the executive team is pretty adept in this area and loves to chat about it. It's what we all nerd out about, and we'd love to explore it with you. So, thanks so much.
Hello everyone, this is Jim Gepperth, the Academic Dean here at Lakewood College, and I'm also a fellow faculty member. Friends, in the next handful of minutes I want to share with you what are the expectations of a faculty member here at Lakewood College. We're going to visit two documents. The first is already on your screen, the faculty handbook. And then we're going to jump into the evaluation tool that we use for instructors. And those two documents will give us a very good idea of the expectations of an instructor here at the school. I'm also going to briefly cover for you what are the expectations of me, your dean, so that we have a very good sense of how to work well together. So this document, the faculty handbook, at the recording of this video was most recently updated in early 2019. This document, if you don't already have it, is accessible to you through our online faculty training and resource center in Moodle. You should already have access to it, but if you have trouble accessing it, please connect with any one of us here at the office and we will make sure that you have a copy of it, either a hard copy sent to you or accessed digitally. We're going to only look at a small portion of this document today, the faculty role and my role as dean. So let's go to pages 7 and 8. Here we go. Faculty. So, the instructor duties include providing guidance in curriculum and course design. In other words, we do expect you to be involved in the curriculum development and especially in the course design of the course that is assigned to you to teach. Faculty members author their own courses. What does this mean? Essentially, all schools have their philosophies and strategies on to what degree do they allow instructors autonomy in their courses, in the design of the course. Some schools will do a lot of the design for you and hand an already made course over to you to teach and maintain. Other schools expect a lot of design work on your end. We're probably in the middle of this spectrum where we provide some upfront work for you, primarily in the format of the course, the format of the syllabus is already prefabricated for you, but internally the content of the course, the guts of the course, even the specific learning outcomes of the course, that's all up to you. And in that sense, we still believe very much so in letting faculty members share their expertise through the design of their course. We have processes in place to help you do that. We have staff members here at the office to help you do that, but that responsibility is primarily yours. You are also expected, as you would imagine, to engage with the students in your course. You're expected to communicate with them should they have questions. You're expected to grade in a timely manner and to provide feedback in a very proactive and full manner so that students know that their progress is being followed throughout the course. Also, we do expect you to participate in a discussion with the leadership team of the school regarding the various technologies that are used to deliver our courses to students. So we know that you're on the front line of teaching, and therefore you have the experience and the wisdom to share with us what types of technologies work for you and which maybe don't. So as you work with us, you will see that this discussion topic comes up quite frequently, and it's as broad as learning the learning management system, in our case Moodle, and other ancillary technologies. We want to hear from you what's working and what's not. Let me jump briefly down to the expectations of the dean so that you know how to work with me. Here we go. Finally found it. So the dean has a number of functions here at the school, as you would imagine, but primarily I am supervising, evaluating, and providing guidance to faculty members of the college. So my job is to be available to you to help you structure well-designed courses, to offer guidance regarding teaching strategy and how to best engage students, how to fix problems along with the help of our savvy staff here at Lakewood College. My goal and expectation is also to ensure industry best practices in curriculum design and course offerings. So as I go to conferences, as I communicate with colleagues, my hope and goal is to bring back that learning to you, share what I've learned so that you can use the latest tools and practices when you are designing your courses and when you are teaching your courses. I work with college staff members to ensure that students are receiving support and progressing through the program. So this is a very important part of what I do. You don't see most of it because you are focused on your part teaching, but I work with our student success coach. I work with student services here at the office of Lakewood College. I work with everybody associated with the school, including the leadership team, right up to the president and founder of the school, to make sure that students are getting what they need in order to progress nicely through your course. Also, one of my responsibilities as the dean is to provide outcomes assessment for each program that we offer and to look toward continuous quality improvement. And in that vein, we are always in the improvement process that never ever ends, as you probably already know. So those are some of the expectations of me, and I hope that going through that has helped you understand how best to work with me. Next, real briefly, I want to go to the evaluation tool that we use for instructors. I'm not going to go into detail on this now because in another section of this video, I go into this tool and the evaluation process in more detail. But the expectations of the faculty member are found, as you would imagine, in our evaluation tool. And they come in three main sections. The first is communicating and grading. The instructor should effectively communicate with students and grade assignments promptly. I've highlighted several of the most, what I think, important metrics are: assignments and discussion posts are graded in a timely manner, twice per week, typically within 3 to 4 days. The instructor is proactive in discussion forums by modeling comprehensive posts, and the instructor offers explanation and guidance along with assignment grades. The next section, course design and the navigation of our learning management system, which is Moodle. The instructor should effectively design the course and navigate the learning management system. Student learning objectives should be appropriate to content and utilize Bloom's taxonomy. And learning objectives should be linked to graded assignments in the course. And the last section of expectations, participation and professionalism. The instructor should effectively participate as a team member and demonstrate professionalism. The instructor should respond quickly to communication from school administrators. The instructor should proactively interact with student services personnel and/or the student success coach when students are struggling. And of course, as your dean, I had to highlight this one. We expect faculty members to attend meetings and training. So I hope that by going over these two documents briefly, we've explained the essential expectations of faculty members here at Lakewood College. If you have any questions or need guidance along these lines, please don't hesitate to contact me or anyone else here at the office. Thanks so much, and until next time, take care.
Hello. For this section, we are going to talk a little bit about adult learning theory to get a little background knowledge into the majority of learners that are learning here with us at Lakewood College. That's not to say that we don't have younger learners to include 17 and 18-year-olds, however, they would be considered the minority learners here at Lakewood. The age range currently is above 35 and below 55. So that's like the majority of learners that you will have in your courses currently. Of course, that will change as Lakewood College grows and diversifies its marketing endeavors. So I've had the pleasure and privilege of researching a lot of adult learning theory, and it started with a gentleman named Malcolm Knowles in the late 60s. And he called it andragogy. Some people call it andragogy. However, because it's pedagogy, I believe that it's probably pronounced andragogy. And then there's something else called hudagogy. But we're going to focus mainly on andragogy because it is the theory of adult learning. And it's based on 5 assumptions. I've seen all the way up to 7 assumptions in the current phase iterations rather. But it really is looking at the difference between pedagogy, which is I'm going to give you the knowledge, and andragogy, which is more facilitating the knowledge. Okay, so this is kind of talking about the assumptions and giving you a little bit of insight into the learners that you will interact with and that you facilitate knowledge to. All right, so the first assumption is the self-concept. So as we grow older, we become more independent, and therefore we prefer a self-directed approach. What does this mean? Well, instead of saying you have to do a writing project on course objectives, we may say, why don't you choose a writing project that is around course objectives? Would you like to write a paper? Would you like to do an assignment that includes a PowerPoint? Would you like to make a video like the one I'm making right now? Or would you like to do something else? It's a little bit more self-directed. Still has the same objective, which is to explore in a scholarly way course objectives, but it's not so prescriptive. Right? It's a little bit more self-directed. There are other ways that self-directed learning can be incorporated, which is one thing that Dr. Stephen Kemp, who's like an idol of mine in higher education, talks about, which is primary and secondary social resources, incorporating primary and secondary social resources into this self-concept or self-directed learning approach. What does that mean? Well, it could be that a primary social resource, by the way, is your family or friend, someone who you interact with regularly, and that you might say, I love you to, or I like you a lot. That would be a primary. Secondary may be somebody at work, or an acquaintance that you see every week at church or something like that. So incorporating those primary resources may be speak to your significant other. This is an assignment, by the way. Speak to your significant other about the course material. Let's stay with the theme course objectives. And ask them what they feel about course objectives. Teach them a little bit about what they are. And then ask them about their feedback and write in a discussion forum, in an assignment, whatever activity you choose to incorporate that. That's a little bit more self-directed, and it's not so isolating because you are including a primary social resource into the learning. It's a really unique way of breaking down that isolating barrier that is in education. All of us have at least a master's degree, or some of us terminal degrees. We know that that's isolating. If you've had a significant other or someone that you live with while you were getting those degrees, it can be isolating because you're learning about a topic that the other person may not know about. And they're kind of like, oh, what are you doing? All right, the adult learner experience. They bring knowledge, right? Someone has a lot of knowledge that they're bringing to the table, unlike a pedagogical approach or elementary approach, right? So the adult learner is bringing a wealth of knowledge. Incorporate that. And a simple way is just to tell us about your experience with this, or link it to an experience. Link the development of a course objective to an experience that you've had in your life. Maybe I've seen things linked to oil changes. You know, it doesn't have to be something that's all as obvious. A readiness to learn. Studies show that adults are ready to learn and that they want to learn. Instead of someone telling them that they have to learn this, they chose to learn it, which kind of implies a readiness. An orientation to learning. So we want what we are learning to be actually applicable to our everyday lives. This is why Lakewood College offers a lot of technical specific programs, because a lot of adult learners prefer to not take 50 or 60% of their coursework in the liberal arts. Not to say that the humanities aren't great. I teach humanities and I love them. But historically, and the research tells us that they are a little bit more in tune or desiring more specific knowledge. And then a motivation to learn. As children, we learn because of external factors, like parents and teachers. However, as adults, we want to learn for our own reasons. I think this is a great one, and I think this kind of hones in on that primary and secondary social resources. If students are including individuals that are in their immediate lives in their assignments and writing about it or learning with a person, it boosts their motivation. So when life gets hard, when you're 50 or 60% of your way through your degree and you have a death in the family, or your attic leaks, which happened to me this week, something crazy happens where an unexpected event happens and you don't know what to do, this is where that motivation comes in and really can be the changing event. So I don't really want to go over the principles of andragogy. I just wanted to go over a brief discussion of the 5 concepts or 5 assumptions of adult learning theory. Hopefully this helps a little bit in the design phase of your development of your courses, as well as gives you a little bit more insight if this is a newer endeavor for you teaching in higher education, as to who you're working with. As always, if you have any questions, call or text me.
Hey everyone, it's Jim Gepperth, the Academic Dean here at Lakewood College, and I'd like to spend a few moments with you to go over effective course learning objective writing. This is key to being an effective instructor, whether it be online or face-to-face, and it's certainly worth 5 to 10 minutes of our time in this video. I'm going to start by showing you several slides from the International Accreditation Council for Business Education. This is a workshop that I attended recently in late summer of 2019, where they went over Bloom's taxonomy and the proper way to write program outcomes and course learning objectives. So I just want to thank the IACBE for this material and give them due credit. I'm going to jump to this slide because at the heart of how we prepare our course learning objectives is the adherence to Bloom's taxonomy, and we want you to have a little bit of background history on where this comes from. Benjamin Bloom, who was an American educational psychologist, in 1956 published this construct for the language that educators should use when they are writing learning objectives for their students. And I will show you the various descriptive words and the construct that Benjamin Bloom used. It was later updated by Anderson and Krathwohl, who took a look at his construct and changed it somewhat, and that is the construct that we use today. Again, Bloom's taxonomy simply refers to the language that we use when we are developing program outcomes and, in your case, instructors' course learning objectives. Bloom had this theory that people learn in different stages, and it is typically a linear journey where in the introductory concepts, students are simply charged with remembering concepts and new language keywords, that kind of thing. Then as they progress in their learning, we would ask students to do more along the lines of understanding, and then as they go further, applying their knowledge to the world around them, as they go further to actually analyzing what they know, going further, evaluating and creating. So if you would imagine a student in their freshman year at college and in their sophomore year of college, as they go on about taking those introductory courses in their degree, primarily they are in the remembering and understanding phase, if you will, of their learning. As they progress through their third and fourth year, yes, then we're asking them to apply their knowledge and do some analyzing. Bloom thought, however, that educators should do more in their learning objective writing, more than just say students will understand this or students will understand that. He really wanted educators to be much more specific with what we expect of students as they learn. In other words, a great way to think about it is, how will you ask students in your course to prove to you as the instructor that they've learned the content that you've given them to learn? Are you going to ask them to define language, words, concepts, identify? Will you ask them to classify, discuss, explain. So this exercise requires educators to be much more proactively specific with the language that we use when we try to determine what we want students to learn and how are we going to measure their learning. As they, again, work through their program, the type of learning that they do and what we ask of them is different. You will see Bloom's taxonomy in various models. Let me show you another model that we've used here at Lakewood College. Nope, that's not it. This is it. A triangle, if you will. Again, at the bottom, moving upward. Students in year 1 and 2 are primarily in this remembering and understanding stage. And proper words to use in your course learning objectives would be define, duplicate, list, memorize, classify, describe, discuss, explain, identify. That kind of language. In year 3 or 4 of a bachelor degree, we want them to apply and analyze what they're learning, but better language in their learning objective would be to implement, solve, use, demonstrate, or differentiate, organize, relate. You get the idea. And then in their graduate studies, we're asking students to analyze and evaluate. And if they were to take a PhD program, they are asked to create new knowledge, to do research, the very tip of the triangle. So if you were to Google Bloom's taxonomy, you would see a myriad of these different models, but the content and the idea is essentially the same. Let's go back to this one here. As you are putting together your course and you're determining the learning objectives of your course, we want you to first identify if your course is part of a multi-course program such as an associate degree or a bachelor degree. We want you to first go to the program outcomes for the entire program, which we will already have shared with you, but you can always get them online at the website of the college. And we want you to read and fully understand what the program outcomes are for the entire program. For example, if you are teaching a course or 2 courses in a 20-course associate degree, we want you to first know what the overarching program outcomes are for the entire program, so that you can then strategically and purposefully align some, at least some, if not all of your course learning objectives to those program outcomes. And then you can get even more specific in the content of your course with the assignments. And we'll talk about how to write effective assignments in a little bit. But understand that if you're teaching an introductory course in government, for example, you would not be asking students right out of the gate to do any analyzing or evaluating. And you certainly would not be asking them to do their own research to create new knowledge. Your goal is to teach some of the basic principles of how government is formed, some of the key terms of government policy, that kind of thing. But if you're teaching a course in a graduate program, let's say an MBA program, you're operating in this realm here. And yes, you're asking students to analyze or evaluate. So we want you to pay attention to the different levels of rigor of student learning, depending on where your course is in the program itself and where students are in their journey of learning. Let's jump to an example of some learning outcomes. This is my course. It's my Intro to Business course. And here are some of the learning objectives in my course. Now I can tell you right off the bat, looking at this, for an 8-week course, I have too many learning objectives. I'm going to have to change that when I update my course. A good number of learning objectives for a degree-bearing, credit-bearing course would be 7 or 8, maybe 9. But you can see that this is one of the very first courses that a student would take in our associate degree program of business. And if you look at the descriptive words that I use in my learning objectives, they fall in Bloom's level 1 or level 2 categories. And I'm not asking students to do anything that is outside of their capacity at this time. I'm asking them to explain ideas, describe ideas, discuss perhaps in a discussion forum. And I think a good rule of thumb, colleagues, is when you're putting together your course, I would like you to consider how are you going to ask them to prove that they've learned the content that you've presented to them. I mean, literally, will you ask them to explain something in a discussion forum? Or will you ask them to list 10 or 12 or 15 key concepts? Will you ask them to define language that they've learned? I mean, get very specific in your mind as to what you're going to ask of students in the content of your course. I would even recommend using the exact same language in your assignments as you do in your learning objectives. So I would certainly, if I were to jump into my course, you would find a discussion topic or an assignment that asks them to examine the reasons to launch a small business, word for word, or to differentiate the 4 basic forms of business ownership, word for word. That way, as an educator, I can prove that I am linking my course content with course learning objectives in an exact manner. I hope that makes some sense. Look, friends, writing effective learning objectives it's a skill that requires practice, and it's not something that you'll probably do right off the bat if you're brand new to teaching. So that's why we wanted to share with you in this training a little background on Bloom's taxonomy and how to put together an effective learning objective. But don't forget that you have a lot of help here at the school, so feel free to reach out to me at any time or others here at the office of Lakewood College, and we would be happy to go much deeper into this with you as you are designing your courses. All right, I hope that helps, and until next time, take care.
Hi there. So we are going to talk a little bit about instructional design, what it is, the model that we most closely align with. There are many, and we don't align with any one wholly, but we certainly find ourselves aligning with ADDIE as the closest. So the ADDIE model has been around for quite a long time. It began in the military, some say during World War II, others say during the Vietnam era. I think it was somewhere in between there, and it's been around even longer than that, just maybe not named. So ADDIE stands for Analyze, Design, Develop, Implement, and Evaluate. And I want to first go over what instructional design is, and then talk about what a faculty member's role is in the instructional design process or the overarching picture. So, and I will provide a visual in a moment of what that looks like. So, instructional design, I once heard someone say it like giving really, really detailed substitute notes to a 10th grade math teacher that gives every single step in the process to the design. So an instructional design map may look like a whole program. Let's take a Bachelor's of Healthcare Administration. It would include the entry-level knowledge in order to enroll in that program. right? So that would mean that they have to know English most likely. They would have to know how to construct a complete sentence, have to have completed high school or a GED, and then it would have every single course in that map. And it would have a bunch of arrows leading to it. But this is where faculty members come into the instructional design process. They come into creating the individual courses, coming up with the course objectives, choosing the textbook, building the course itself, building the activities. Oftentimes faculty, I've seen faculty define curriculum design or instructional design process as something that they are not involved with. I would say that in fact is inaccurate. Faculty members are integral and at Lakewood College do involve themselves greatly in the design process. Instructional design is done by the leaders here who have formal terminal almost training in instructional design. So we build the shell for the program. However, the faculty build the curriculum, if that makes sense. So we find out what courses need to exist, but faculty design the respective courses once we decide which ones exist. And of course, we do have specialized teams comprised of faculty advisors, department chairs, who oversee us as well as kind of a checks and balances. So I just wanted to give that kind of overview first and then go into the ADDIE model. So the analyze phase is something that we as the leaders and specialized committees do first. So it's the pre-planning, thinking about the course or program, right? So when we're thinking about the overall goal, those outcomes of a program. So we have program outcomes, course objectives. Each course has objectives that are linked to a program outcome. So upon completion of a Bachelor's of Healthcare Administration, the student will have XYZ. One of these course objectives, if not all of them, are linked to XYZ. So that's kind of like the beginning of the end in mind. So that's we design the course or program. We figure out who's the learner, who is the audience. In this case, it is a student who wants to obtain a specific degree. What are the objectives? What will they obtain? So for a course, this would be the course objectives. For a program, this would be the outcomes. Identify the content, make sure it's market relative to the market rather, and that it's up to date, which is why our accreditor, the DEAC, requires that the textbooks be rather new, making sure that it's up to date. The environment, well, we already know the environment. That is the learning platform Moodle, our learning management system Moodle. The instructional strategies that are used, well, we've talked about adult learning theory and said a little bit about self-directed learning. That will be the strategy that we use to design, understanding that that is the primary learner that we will interact with and facilitate knowledge to. Assessment strategies, well, we kind of help you with that, right? And on a leadership team, we say that at a minimum, now I always love people that go above the minimum, but at a minimum we must have graded discussion forums, graded assignments, and graded quizzes or tests. At a minimum. There are many more options, and we encourage you to incorporate those evaluation or assessment methods in there, right? So, and then a formative evaluation. So assessment strategies are those activities, discussion forums, and assignments, and then the formative evaluation would be the quiz or test. Constraints. I like this. I like that they include constraints. So I think that there are both positives and negatives to an online asynchronous environment. Number one, students who normally wouldn't have access to an education do. And then that is a huge benefit. However, sometimes research states that if students are in an asynchronous environment, it becomes a little bit even more isolating. So constraints might be the isolation, and how do we overcome that? But if we understand our constraints, of course we can accommodate and overcome them. Design your course paper, design your it could be the whole program, right? It doesn't. This is specific to a course, but it doesn't have to be. name the learning units of the instruction, identify content and strategies for the individual unit of instruction. We can think of courses instead of unit, and write instructions for the learning unit. So this is where you as the faculty member come in, and you are writing the respective courses. Develop the material. So based on the design phase, build content, assignments, and assessments, and begin teaching. So overview of the course expectations. I love expectation management, setting forth those expectations. The syllabus is your expectation management. However, what I've found over the years is that some students don't read the syllabus. So, initiating other ways of expectation management is just fine. Interact and ask for feedback. We do every lesson in every single course has an evaluation at the end of it. We currently do not share them with faculty on a weekly basis. We share them with faculty on an annual basis. However, if you'd like to see them more often, we could probably do that. We could probably make that happen. And then evaluate. Were those outcomes, those program outcomes that we've created and those course objectives for you, were they achieved? Did they, and if not, let's change it. If they did, great job, let's keep moving on. All right, so I'm going to bring into the screen. Let's see if I can make this fit. Here we go, kind of small. All right, this is an instructional design app. It's kind of overwhelming, I know, but this is something that we at the leadership level would be doing, and then these would be your courses in here. Okay, so these are this dotted line here. Anything below the dotted line are the entry-level skills required. So for us, in our case, let's just take 1 point. Let's take 1.1 point. Okay, so up here is the objective. Down here would be the course linked to that objective, or I'm sorry, outcome. Oops. Up here is the outcome. Down here is the course linked to that outcome, okay? Or courses. In our case, it might be 15 or 20 courses. And then down here is the entry-level knowledge that one must have before they can enter the course. So read and write in English. We are looking at Spanish in the future, but read and write in English. Be able to form a complete sentence. Have the capacity to understand entry-level, healthcare theory or whatever. Anything that would be an entry-level skill, and then anything above the dotted line would be a course with course objectives linked to an outcome. So here is this is for a course again, but intellectual skill instructional goal. Given a pillowcase and ribbon, an adult learner, such as a parent or grandparent, would transform these materials in their home through the use of a sewing machine and other simple tools into a dress suitable for child ages 2 to 6 years old to wear as clothing. All right, so here are the objectives, or in our case, outcomes. Measure the length of a dress, cut the pillowcase, create armholes, create casings, and insert ribbons. But one of the things I'd like to insert at this point is this instructional design is not teaching someone how to do it. It is designing the teaching process a little bit differently. It is not really a lesson plan. It's a little bit beyond the lesson plan. Okay, so imagine it as teaching a teacher how to teach. Okay, so this is high-level stuff that we are not as concerned with. I just think that it's important for faculty to understand the model that we align with here at Lakewood, so that conceptually it's easier when we have these discussions about the curriculum development guide and the design process here at Lakewood, because again, faculty members are part of the design process. They are constantly involved with every iteration of Lakewood College, and we wholeheartedly appreciate it. As always, if you have any questions, call or text. But these are the averages, and this is kind of the equation that we use to measure how many hours are in a course, because one course must have at least 135 hours. For degree-bearing courses. So we are looking at this and making sure that this is as up-to-date as possible. I think some things have changed just a little bit. Designing a program. Well, I'm not going to go too in-depth into this because this was covered in the instructional design portion, but this is the written version of the map that we've discussed. These are the approved courses from the state of Ohio and the DEAC. So these are the courses that we currently offer, and I believe most, if not all, of the business courses have students, and many of the legal courses have students. We do have a college catalog that is updated regularly, and it includes a description of the respective programs, course descriptions, and explanation of a lot of policies and procedures. Talks a little bit about creating assignments. So creating an assignment could be a written assignment, a research paper, an examination discussion forum, and much more. There are programs, this program that I use is called Screencast-O-Matic. I pay for it, but the unpaid version only has like a watermark called Screencast-O-Matic. Students can certainly use this on a Chromebook. They can do it on their phones. They can do presentations via video. I require in most of my courses video presentations. So I don't want this to be limiting writing research papers, examinations. Of course, you could do PowerPoints, video assignments. You could have somebody call in and leave you a voicemail as an oral presentation. That's perfectly fine too. Or they can record their voice and email it to you, or submit it into your course, into your learning management system, your Moodle. So for our vocational programs, we do have licensure that Lakewood College pays for their first attempt. This is just talking about that. I'm not going to go too in-depth into the target items. So this is a little bit about course objectives. Currently, the way that I prefer course objectives to be created are giving the faculty member the program outcomes that have already been developed, and then asking them to look at the textbook and any other relevant materials as well as their brains and developing the course objectives for their course that they are designing. Keyword, faculty members are designing, right? So when a faculty member has already developed the course objectives, then we have the advisors look at the course objectives and give us their feedback. If the feedback is kind of simple, then we won't worry about it. If it's something that requires immediate attention, we will send it to the faculty member and ask for their insight and perhaps ask for some revisions. The key here is that it is a collaborative process with, as far as course objectives go, the faculty member is the leader in this area. All right. So the course materials include a syllabus that you've created. Sometimes a study guide. We've kind of gone away with study guides, but we still offer them in some of the courses. Textbooks are paid for currently by Lakewood College, quizzes, and of course we'll go into grading rubrics a little bit further into this document. Just a word about the evaluations. You can choose the point values of each respective activity. So if you want discussion forums to be worth 100 points, assignments to be worth 500 points, and tests to be worth 1,000 points. That's kind of an interesting example, but you could do that. All right, you do have the autonomy to do that. So we now call these folks department chairs, but department chairs are subject matter experts with terminal degrees in their respective fields, and their job is to be the liaison for faculty and advisors, as well as oversee their respective departments within the regulatory guidelines set forth by the DEAC in the state of Ohio. Talking about some policies and procedures. We do, I guess just a note about the ADA. We do have disability office for individuals with disabilities. And then of course we are, I call FERPA the HIPAA of higher ed. We are FERPA compliant. Faculty members are not privy to demographic information or anything like that. So we always make sure that we're compliant with that. Course program or revision request. You can certainly fill out a form if you want to revise your course, or you could just call or text me or Jim, the dean, or your department chair and say, hey, you know what? I think this isn't working. I want to redo something or change something. Very, very simple. We don't necessarily need these. All right. Here's a rubric. This is a template. If you want to copy and paste this and then change it to be specific to your course, that's fine. One thing I would like to point out here is original posting is worth 5 and a follow-up is worth 5. In a discussion forum, students always will receive half credit for the initial post, half credit for a reply. In a lot of my courses, I require 2 replies. So 1 original post and 2 replies, so I break it down even more. So my discussions are worth 20 points. The first is worth 10, the original is worth 10, and they must have a citation. And then the reply, each are worth 5. And I do follow this discussion rubric. Here is an example of an assignment rubric. An example does not, it could be much more in-depth than this. You could make them content specific. And they could be worth 100 points, 500 points, whatever you think is necessary, of course, to the level of the course. And a list of textbooks we don't really need to go over. And that is the end of the document. So I think the overarching theme here is just building upon the instructional design model that we align with here at Lakewood College, talking a little bit more about the curriculum design process here, and explaining that faculty are involved in the curriculum design process and what their roles are. So the identifying course objectives, building their own courses, and then eventually one of our goals is to have faculty interact with one another in their respective programs. So for example, I teach strategic management. I also teach with Dr. Trelawney and Thomas Evans. She teaches a course right before me. So it's important for me to know her course and what she teaches before me, and then for her to know my course because students are going to interact with me after. So if we have the same assignment in our courses, that might be hindering the student and not really giving them the best education that they could receive. So we are going to do that in the near future. As always, if you need anything, reach out. Hello. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our learning management system, Moodle. M-O-O-D-L-E. There are many learning management systems that exist in higher education, or in education really, because they are used in K-12 as well. And Lakewood College chose Moodle for a number of reasons, to include back-end information, which those IT folks will love. But we chose it for readability and writability. We chose it for secure reasons. And also as a smaller nonprofit institution, private institution, it made the most sense. Some institutions can spend upwards of $100,000 to $200,000 for Desire to Learn, D2L, Blackboard, and some other learning management systems that are out there. Canvas is not as expensive. Schoolity, I've worked with many of them. I actually own a development firm that does this. So I am familiar with quite a few learning management systems. However, I like Moodle. Also, you may notice that the homepage of mylakewoodcollege.com, which is where our Moodle is, happens to have my picture. I had the distinct privilege of going to Mobile, Alabama in 2018 to visit one of our outstanding graduates. In 2018, I traveled the country visiting a lot of our outstanding graduates and learning a little bit more about them and taking them and their families out to eat, which was really, really fun. But this young woman here is Abby Brown. Her name she's since married. Her name is Abby J. She immigrated from the United Kingdom to the United States and became she found herself in a unique situation where she was almost homeless with children. So she decided to attend Lakewood College. Upon completion of Lakewood College, she was able to get a job as a paralegal and obtain housing for her family. She's since become a senior paralegal, as you can read on the screen, and she's making over 6 figures. Super proud of her. And a lovely human being to meet. So very proud of Abby, and that's probably one of the reasons our president and founder chose this picture for our Moodle. It could change though. I'm not sure how long it'll stay there. All right, so we click login, which was up there, and your dashboard will show up. Any courses that you are assigned to teach will be in your dashboard. Every faculty member will have a different looking dashboard, and you have the ability to customize your page. All right. I'd like to note that on smaller screens, this half moon is normally closed, and this hamburger button is normally closed. All right. I have a very large screen purposefully because I'm blind, but if you click on this hamburger button, it will then show the full wording, and that's true for your course as well. And if you open this, there are a ton of resources over here as well. I'll show you why it's good to at least toggle these and have them open in a little bit. So I'm going to go into, I no longer teach this course, I've given it away, but I'm going to go into organizational behavior, and I'm going to show you a little bit about Moodle operations. All right. So the first thing that I'd like to point out is, as you can see, these are kind of, I call them mystery buttons. I like to click this hamburger button over here and show, oh, I can quick toggle to lesson 3. I can quick toggle to grades and see some grades in here. I can quick toggle to participants and see everyone who's assigned in this course or who has signed into this course. Like, as you see, this person logged in 89 days ago, they probably already completed the course. Because they are asynchronous courses, it is quite possible for one student, let's say student Anthony. Anthony enrolls in the course 4 weeks ago. Tonya enrolls in the course this week. Anthony will be on lesson 4 because he completes 1 lesson per week, and Tonya will be on lesson 1. That means that a faculty member is grading assignments in lesson 4 and assignments in lesson 1. But you may have students in every single lesson, lessons 1 through 8, because it's an 8-week course, right? So it's important to note that we have reports that exist to make it easier for grading. All right. Before we get into grading, I'm going to open up this half moon and show you why I like to have this open. The consolidated report is something we use internally, and you will see that if you've not already seen it in the Success Coach video. The discussion link is your friend. When you click on it, any and all discussion forums from any lesson will be in here. You can click on them and grade them from here. It is super helpful. The configurable reports are always going to be home. You can click to go home to the course here, or you can click the back button. It doesn't really matter, they'll all take you. The ungraded assignment link is also a very helpful report. Any and all written PowerPoint, video, lecture, whatever assignments the faculty member has created exist in this report. All right, so it's very easy. I'm going to go back to the main host of the course, and I can close this little half moon. All right, so the course includes a nice little quote. Every course has this, the instructor's information, a welcome from student services, a little orientation, course sequence, right? Course must be taken in order. Please don't skip lessons. Proctor information. Every single degree-bearing course has a proctored final exam. It is conducted by ProctorU, and faculty members don't really have to worry about that. We do have a live chat feature, We have an online library, which is a separate video of instruction. Currently, Monica Mason is our Master of Library Science prepared librarian. However, Jack Solomon is undergoing his degree in library science as well. He will be a librarian. Tommy Sutton-Lovett is the success coach. We are probably adding a few more success coaches on. And this is really important information for the student, which is how to calculate their grade, their syllabus. Again, not every student looks at the syllabus. Some rubrics. I highly encourage the faculty to have rubrics. And then a course sequence, right? This kind of goes over what I talked about a little bit earlier. Lesson 1 equals week 1, lesson 2 equals week 2, and so forth. If a student gets confused, they have an academic timeline here. They can just type in their information and boom, it tells them where they need to be at the specific moment. And then here is a discussion forum. So I wanted to go in here and show you a little bit about grading. As you can see, this faculty member, good job, Dr. Robinson, I'm proud of you in this one. The student didn't do that great of a job in his discussion forum. He probably could have done a little bit better. So she gave him a 3 out of 5. Remember, initial post, follow-up, right? I see an initial and a follow-up here. So it's 5 here, 3 out of 5 here, and 3 out of 5 here for a total of 6 out of 10. All right, let's go back to lesson 1 up here, and I'm going to go into an assignment. You may hear our office dog outside. She doesn't like delivery people. All right, so I'm going to go in here and show you how to grade an assignment. If you click on grade, you can see, I believe this is from me, I used to teach this course. So you can see that the student earned a 7 out of 10. You can give points, 7.1, 7.2, 7.3 if you want her to have above a high. But here is my feedback, and this is what I like to talk about when grading. Open this. Where's it going to open? So I figured over here. All right, I'll bring it into the screen of view. All right, so here's the student, and here's my feedback. I'm giving her substantive feedback, which is just feedback of substance, and telling her, hey, is this your information or did you plagiarize, right? What do you mean here? Is this a typo? Is this a typo? And then my feedback. Okay. That is the ideal way of grading an assignment. I'm going to go back to the course. I can just click here. And I want to talk a little bit about editing the course. Up here, there's a settings wheel. Click on the settings wheel and click turn on editing. It will bring up a different view. Okay. Looks a little bit different. See how you can move things. You pretty much have autonomy, just be careful not to delete stuff. But if you want guidance, more guidance, we're certainly here to help you with that. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how you can create things. So if you want to add a resource, let's say you want to add a YouTube video. There you go. You can add a URL. If you want to add a file video or anything, a supplemental material, a book. Those are resources. Activities are assignments. I don't recommend attendance for an asynchronous place, but you could. A checklist. You don't have to worry about the links or the plugins. You could do a game if you wanted to do a game. A glossary is very helpful. You could add a whole other lesson, a quiz. Let's say we want to add a quiz. The name of the quiz. Alright, I now have a quiz here named Lakewood. I can go into that quiz. There's no questions. I can edit it and I can add a question. If you want to have a question bank from the publisher, we will provide you that. Or you can add a question yourself. Automatically, when you design a course from a textbook, we will import the question bank provided by the publisher. However, you are not required to use that question bank. To be honest with you, I do not like the publisher question banks because they are too difficult. unless you are having the student explore the whole textbook, which is maybe 400 or 500 pages, chances are the questions are coming from an obscure place within the textbook that they often are trying to trick the student, and the student won't do well. I've had students with master's degrees and high-level, very bright people get C's on exams from the publisher because they are not really fair. Even in a 16-week course where you're meeting Monday, Wednesday, Friday for an hour, I still don't think publisher quizzes or tests are that fair. I prefer faculty-made tests. So I highly encourage you, if you're interested, please make your own test, and I can help you through that process. All right, so I'm going to go back and delete that quiz out of there so Dr. Robinson doesn't see me. Delete. Boom. That's it. So that's really all I wanted to talk about there. A little bit about editing your course and turn editing back off. And that is a brief overview of Moodle. If you have any questions, as always, let me know. Hi. I wanted to talk a little bit about the online library and how to access it in each of your courses. And near the top of your course, before lesson 1, there is a link you can click on. And then here's the username and password to log into the library. You do that once, I just save it, so I'm automatically logged in. But once you save it, you do not need to memorize the username and password. If you are in school, I highly recommend using our library too, because it's much, I think, easier to navigate with a similar amount of publications. So I use a lot of my research for my dissertation from this library, just because it's easier. And here are some quick links. I love these quick links for you legal people. Fun fact, in the Army, I was a paralegal for a long time. We call them legal eagles. If you just click on this, you'll see in the law and criminal justice there is a fast case. Right? If you click on fast case, it's a much cheaper version than LexisNexis or Westlaw or some up-and-coming law libraries. But here is a law library. I put in Ohio because I do a lot of Ohio legal research for our business, but you can certainly search all jurisdictions or specific to a state. And it's a really fun law library, so I highly recommend taking a look at that. But going back to the library, I'm going to scroll real quick to the top. And just notice a few things for you information technology individuals. We have this area, and probably a few others that you might be interested in. For the business folks, we have a whole business section. Humanities, general ed, we have these people. Those are my wheelhouse, my favorites. And then, of course, we do have healthcare. So within this, we use EBSCOhost and ProQuest. I'm sorry, we do not use EBSCOhost anymore. We only use ProQuest in here. And you can do a specific search within that area. Okay. And you can look at these subject coverages and you can get that granular with it. Or you can do a whole library search, which will come up with 1 million results. So one of my favorite subjects is trauma-informed care. If I search the whole LEARN, so LEARN stands for LIRN, LEARN, Library and Information Resource Network. If I search the whole LEARN host of databases, it comes up with 53,000 results, which is not conducive to doing effective research. So I may want to go ahead and hone in on that, maybe do some filters or something. But LEARN is, in my opinion, very intuitive, very, very fun to use. I do appreciate it when faculty are familiar with this, and in fact, we required during the design process, beginning with the end in mind, during the instructional design process, every single course to have an online library assignment. So all of your courses do have online library assignments, but you certainly have access to it. Use it for your own personal use. We pay for it for you to be able to use it whenever. Please do reference it. for four-year students, as this is a great resource for them as well.
With Lakewood College, and I'd like to spend a few moments with you to go over some of the ways to design really effective graded assignments and discussion forums for your students, and just some things to consider as you go about designing your course and presenting content, and also designing the way you will grade the learning of your students. So as you may recall, earlier in this training video, we went over, generally speaking, the expectations of faculty members. And in that section, we described that one of the expectations is that you have a big part to play in the design process of your course. And it includes writing learning objectives according to Bloom's Taxonomy, which we also already covered in this training video. And then, specifically, the creation and design of graded measures. So when I say graded measures, I mean the assignments that you will ask students to do and submit, the discussion topics that you will create, and even the exam questions or the design of the exam in your course if you're going to help fashion that as well. So a graded measure is simply anything in the course that will be graded either by you or automatically by the learning management system in the case of an exam. So here we've got a lot of space for creativity. Let me just go back and review with you some very important concepts about how to design and place graded measures inside your course. I'm going to open my Intro to Business course here. And we're going to go to, let's just go to lesson 3 for the sake of discussion. You will see in Moodle, in lesson 3 of this course, I have a written assignment asking students to differentiate the forms of business ownership. I also have in this lesson a discussion forum where I ask students to examine the reasons for starting a business. Now, according to Bloom's Taxonomy, we want to stay very true to the language that we use in our course learning objectives and in the assignments that we create and design. I'm asking instructors to be sure that the language stays consistent from learning objective all the way down to the language that you use in your assignments. For example, you'll see here that I am asking students to differentiate forms of business ownership. If I click in here, it will take me into the specific assignment, and you see again the words differentiate forms of business ownership. And in the body of this assignment, I ask them to share the 4 basic forms of business ownership. Going back out of this, going back to lesson 3, in my discussion forum in Moodle, I'm asking them to examine the reasons for starting a business. If I click into my discussion, there it is again, the same exact words, examine the reasons for starting a business. And in the content of my topic, you'll see those words again, examine and explain the various reasons entrepreneurs desire to start their own business. Why is this important? If I jump back into my course, and if I go to the syllabus of my course, if I open that, and in the syllabus are the learning objectives for the course. And remember, colleagues, learning objectives are basically the promise that we give to students of the things that they will learn if they do all the work that we ask of them in our course. And somewhere in here, I should find, working backwards, a learning objective that asks them to, here it is, differentiate the 4 basic forms of business ownership. And here's the discussion forum. Examine the reasons to launch a small business. So in this way, I can show consistency, strategy, purposeful thinking from course objectives all the way down to the various graded measures that I place in my course. This will make for a very sound course design, and this is what our accreditor and the State Department of Higher Ed look for in really well-designed courses. A few other things to keep in mind as you're developing your graded measures. Again, I reiterate, be as specific as possible in your directions to students. Don't be vague, because vague instructions are very confusing to students, and you will ultimately just be making more work for yourself by answering a plethora of questions from students. It's wiser for you to be specific right out of the gate. You will often have the choice of using an already designed assignment for you that comes along with, for example, the textbook and the publisher of the textbook. And if you choose to use one of their graded measures, that's okay, as long as you are doing it purposefully and you believe that it fits well with the content of the course and the learning objectives that you've written for the course. That's fine to use an already designed graded measure. Or you could go ahead and design from scratch your own assignment or discussion topic. I highly recommend that you try to make your assignments as experiential as possible. And by that I mean, if you can avoid asking students to regurgitate by rote the things that they read in the textbook, that makes for better learning than something more creative and experiential. Now, I know that that's not always possible, and sometimes you do have to ask questions that will prove that the student understands basic concepts. For example, an introductory government course would probably most certainly ask for students to describe the 3 branches of government. I get that, and the students' answers will be very, very similar. But when you can draw from students a creative thought process that makes them go deeper, or, for example, attend a city council meeting and write a summary on that, or to interview a friend who owns a business and to write a summary on that. That's what I mean by experiential. Having the student go out into the world in some manner and apply the learning from their course to the world, and then report back to you or the other students in the course what they're learning. That's what I mean by experiential. Try as best as you can, friends, to include multimedia in your course. This is an online digital course after all. Students are, they're already used to listening to audio online. They're already used to watching video online. And to have a course that does not include those aspects of the digital media world, I think is a little bit disappointing to students. So at the very least, utilize the options in our learning management system that offer you a couple of minutes of audio to leave a micro lecture or to introduce a topic or an assignment, or even to do a short audio of you interacting with students, introducing a lesson, something like that. When possible, ask students to cite sources. I can guarantee you that students come to us almost surely not understanding what plagiarism is, and they need a lot of guidance along these lines on how to properly cite a source, to take information from another source, and to use it in their own assignment in a proper way. I ask you to design your assignments and discussion forums from the perspective of the student. If you were a student taking your own course, would this assignment be interesting to you or boring? Be honest with yourself. If it would be boring to you, most certainly it'll be boring to your students. Create assignments from the perspective of the student and make your course and their learning an interesting journey. Remember, friends, you're the ones who will have to grade all of the work that comes back into you. So the more interesting and creative you make your assignments, the more fun it will be for you to look at them and grade them. So do yourselves a favor and do your best to create some really creative, interesting, engaging graded measures along the lines of written assignments, discussion forums, case studies, that kind of thing. If you have any questions about creating graded measures in your course, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or anybody here at the office of Lakewood College. Thanks so much for your time, and until next time, take care.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jack Solomon, Compliance and Partnership Liaison here at Lakewood College. Hope you're all doing well. I wanted to take some time this morning to go over all the behind-the-scenes work that goes into tracking student satisfaction here at Lakewood College. While, of course, we only have a limited selection of programs, including our vocational and our 2 associate degree programs happening right now, we do have a fully implemented student satisfaction system on the back end to ensure students are getting the most out of their time with us. So today I'm going to be walking through our 3 major ways of tracking student satisfaction. The first is our lesson evaluations, our end of course survey evaluations, and then I'm going to show you an in-development end of program survey mechanism that's going to help us get a real look at what the students have learned and what they've retained in their time with our Lakewood College programs. So first, for the lesson evaluation, what I'm going to show you is an example course. This here is our pharmacy technician course, and you'll see here in lesson 1, once the student completes all of their work, turns in their assignment, there is a link here to go to their lesson evaluation. And what this does is it provides us a real granular look at what they thought of their lesson, if they were satisfied, give us general qualitative feedback, such as what did you like most about your lesson, what, if anything, would you change about it. And what the goal of this is to get really granular, detailed data on how students are feeling about specific lessons and how those lessons are working. And we compile the data from these reports on a quarterly basis, and we are compiling them into an Excel spreadsheet that looks like this. So you'll see we have the answers to their questions on a 1 to 5 basis, 5 being the most fully satisfied, 1 being the least. And so we get that quantitative data and get all of it summarized down here for us. And we also collect their qualitative answers as well. So the student found the formatting very accommodating and made the answers easy to place and discover. The student enjoys psychology, so it was interesting to learn about the pharmaceutical side of that subject. So we have this for multiple programs, and every quarter it's compiled and handed off to our VP Operations, Anthony Nathel, and our Academic Dean, Jim Gepperth. So that is the lesson evaluation form. And next I'm going to show you the end of course survey. And so we're going to go back here. I'm going to use our criminal justice program course as an example of this. And so once the student completes their program, they'll click here to get their survey, And that data is compiled here. And so we have questions like satisfied with the procedure for enrollment, getting started, all these sorts of questions to get their overall impressions of their time with Lakewood College. And then I want to show you the project we are currently working on, which is our end of program survey. And what the goal of this is to get both qualitative and quantitative answers from students regarding the retention of the information that they've learned in their program. So this example here is in Moodle, and it's a post-program survey for the Associates in Business Management program. And so it'll ask questions along the lines of, upon the completion of this program, I am confident that I can describe what management is, its functions, and explain the role of a manager. And they can strongly disagree all the way to strongly agree with this question. And what this does is that it provides us with a qualitative set of answers about how the student is feeling towards the end of their program. And they'll submit that, and the team will receive the form and will be compiling reports as we start to see students matriculate through these programs. We're also getting an end of program assessment that will analyze what they've learned on a quantitative basis. So I'll show you a little preview of that. It's a quiz within Moodle. It's 25 questions, and what it's going to do for them is it's not going to count towards their grade or anything, but it's going to provide us with a quantitative answer to the question of, are they retaining the information that is being provided to them in the program? So we'll go back. And once they are done with that end of program assessment, they'll be free to move on to their graduation application, where we will get even more information about their experience here at Lakewood College. So yeah, that in general is a very, very quick overview of the data we collect when it comes to student satisfaction here at Lakewood College. And thank you for listening.
Hello, faculty. I'm Tommy Sutton-Lovett, the Student Success Coach here at Lakewood College. I want to introduce myself and tell you what it is that I do for our students and for you. So, my role here is that of expectation management. I regularly dialogue with the students about where they are and in relation to where they should be. I contact the entire student body weekly. So weekly, the students hear from me in some fashion about where they are and if they're exactly where they should be. Obviously, it's good job and keep up the good work, and I'm here if you need me. If they are behind, then they will hear about that as well. If they are exactly where they should be or ahead, perhaps they will just receive an email. Unless, of course, there's something that arises. If they are behind, then they will receive also a text and an email. A text, an email, and a phone call, rather. So I'm a certified coach, and so part of what I do, in addition to what it is that Lakewood College calls me to do with expectation management, I attempt to infuse my coach training into my dialogue with the students. So I am certified in transformational coaching, so I speak to that regularly and encourage students to climb to the next level, and I attempt to do that in various ways. So again, so the complete student body is reached weekly by me, and I'm here as a resource for them as well. I am available via my work cell phone, so they can get in touch with me. They can text or call me 7 days a week. So that takes many forms, of course. I am also the liaison between you and the students. If a student has handed in an assignment and they are questioning, how long has it been, I will, of course, affirm what is our requirement as far as how long it takes to grade or address a question that maybe they've posed to you. They'll contact me and maybe say, hey, I haven't heard from the instructor. In that case, maybe if it's been a little bit longer, or if there is an immediate need, maybe I'll reach out on their behalf. I always give them that option. Some students choose to contact me because it's easier for them, because of the relationship that we've built, to contact me instead of reaching you directly, and therefore I'll kind of be, again, that middle person. And sometimes I'm just essentially a mediator between you and the students, and I'm happy to do that as well. Because, I'm easily reachable, they're comfortable doing that. I welcome the students weekly as well, along with Nicole Estevez in Student Services. So they get that initial contact with us, and they hear from us weekly in one way or another. So now I will demonstrate what this coaching looks like. So I'm going to use Greg Farrell. You see his information there on the screen. So I have found him in the student portal in Moodle. He is he's a 5th semester student. He's about to be a graduate. He's on his last semester. So I've already looked into where he's at. Actually, he started this week in his new courses. So as of this week, as of today, today is Thursday, he doesn't have to have completed anything at this point. So basically I will then look at his Salesforce account, which is the student file where we keep all of his vital information. I've actually already put a text message in this field. Now, oftentimes I will text students on my work cell phone, but for the purposes of this demonstration, I've done it in this section so that you can see. This is just me reaching out to him this way. Okay, that was successfully sent. Just sort of encouraging him, reminding him of the fact that I'm here, and giving him my phone number, of course, once again, if he needs anything. Then I will actually go down and I will excuse me, I will send him an email. Okay. You see I have many templates that are saved. So we have 3 academic statuses. I think I did not mention that as well. So part of my dialogue and communication with the students weekly is based on their academic status. If a student is exactly where they should be or ahead, they are they've achieved satisfactory progress. If they are 1 to 5 lessons behind, they are in unsatisfactory. If they are more than 5 lessons behind, they are an unacceptable status. So Greg is exactly where he needs to be, as he typically is. So I'm going to send him this email just affirming that he is where he should be. I just put some useful information here concerning his start date, and I always want them to utilize the academic timeline that we have in all of our courses, both vocational and degree courses. It's useful for them just to be able to know where they are in relation to the amount of weeks or months that they have been enrolled. So I will now send that to him. And the last thing that I will do in relation to coaching this student is I will file it in my little report here. So he is in the associate degree of business. Again, so I mean, I find out, about student concerns in multiple ways. They could call me. Just a few minutes ago, actually, Miranda, who is in admissions, came to me saying that she had spoken to a student that she had helped to enroll. He actually contacted her, and he let her know that he realizes that he's a bit behind. He'd received the messages that we had sent to him, and he's wanted to talk to me about that. He said that he would be calling, so I just sort of decided to call him, and I talked to him for a bit to encourage him and to remind him of where he should be, but also let him know that it will be easy for him to catch up. He's actually partway through the lesson that he should have completed at this point. So, I did know that Greg logged in, so I'm showing when he last logged in and when he last completed an assignment. He has achieved satisfactory progress. I emailed him and I sent him a text message. Okay. And he's completed 0, our number of lessons, and there are 32 total lessons. So that's just basically that. So yeah, that's who I am, that's what I do, and please feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or concerns about your students, if you're seeing that maybe they're not submitting work, that they're not active, or anything that's of concern to you. If you have any questions, you can always reach me. My email is tslovett@lakewoodcollege.edu. I can also reach it at my cell phone. It's area code 216-856-0193. Thank you, and have a great day.
Hi faculty, my name is Nicole Estevez and I oversee the Student and Career Services here at Lakewood College. I very briefly wanted to go over my role here. I handle all of the welcome packets and enrolling the students into their courses. I handle graduation. I check the associate degree students' academic progress. I handle the career services. I enroll students into their new courses as they progress, and I send out shipments such as books, transcripts, laptops. I handle all of those. So on Friday I received an email that Jadius completed his enrollment agreement. If I open this up, I'll be able to see which program he enrolled in. Well, for the content of saving time, that'll come up eventually. Okay, so Jadius enrolled in criminal justice in the paralegal program, and the admissions team already started his profile. So from there, I check, make his welcome checklist, open that up. He is VA certified. His EA was sent. I make sure that all of this is correctly done. DOB, social, click that off. I sent him a welcome email. That's through another website. I'm also supposed to enroll the students into their programs, and then just make them active. So I need to add a new user into Moodle. I'll put in his user ID, would be the username, password, name, last name, all that. And then I assign them into their courses, their designated courses. So that's Jadius. That's what I do for students that are enrolling into school. Today I received, well, throughout the weekend, I received a bunch of emails for students that were graduating. So I'll receive their graduation application. From there, I'll open up their profile. We also have a graduation checklist that I go through. I did hers today. So I calculate her GPA, make sure that all of this is completed. I would open up her account. Oh, this isn't her. Oh, I clicked off of her. But normally I would go into her account. Let me see if I can quickly do it, excuse me. Normally I would check if there's any ungraded discussions or ungraded assignments. So I'll go through. So you can see she did pretty well. She did really well. She missed this, but there weren't any ungraded assignments. She just chose not to do it. So she's all clear to graduate. So I would send her a email approving her graduation application. From there, I calculate her GPA, I prepare her reference letter, prepare her graduation letter, as well as her certificate, print all of those out, put them in a nice graduation box, and send them out. In addition to graduations and welcomes, I also check students' academic progress. I'm in charge of the associate degrees, so I have a total of 31 students. So I come here, we'll skip him, he's a new student, he started yesterday. So Demetrius is in her 4th week here. She started her program 10/15, so she's supposed to have completed 4 lessons in each of her courses. So I would log in. I had her open. But just the same that I did in graduation, I would log into her course and see how far along she is. And if she's on progress, I'll send her an email congratulating her and telling her that she's in satisfactory progress. If she's 1 to 5 lessons behind, I'll send her an email telling her that she's unsatisfactory. And anything more than 5, they're unacceptable, and I send them an email telling them that, and I break it down to how many lessons they're behind in which course. That's pretty slow, but yeah, so I keep track. 3 out of 3. Last week Keith had 1 out of 2 in business, 1 out of 2 in communications, and I'll send them the breakdown just like that. As you can see, I inspected everyone 11/5 last Tuesday. I'm a day behind this week, but that's okay. And then this is finally coming up. I can give you a run through. So lesson 1 is complete, lesson 2 is complete, 3 is complete, lesson 4 is complete. So she has a 4 out of 4 in this course, and then I would go into her communications course and see how far along she is in that. In addition to student services, I'm also in charge of the career services. So I handle resume building, mock interviews, cover letters. Students will fill out a request and they have access to me. I'm also setting up externships for a lot of our pharmacy tech graduates. We have a partnership through CVS and Walgreens, and I go ahead and try and get those students placed. So I think that wraps up very quickly what I handle here at Lakewood College. Thank you.